The blizzard swept down the Montana mountains like a hungry beast. The wind howled through the canyons, howling like lost wolves, whipping the tall pines, snapping them. The white snow swirled in the air, whipping at the face like thousands of icy needles. Not a bird, not a trace of a beast, only deathly silence and the wind whistling through the cliffs. In the midst of the harshness, a thin figure wrapped in an old woolen coat struggled to walk. Elena Graves, 28, had been a nurse whose hands were called the flame of life in Kansas, but now she was a pariah. She bowed her head against the cold wind, her long brown hair tangled, each strand frozen by frost. Her ash-gray eyes, once confident when facing dying patients, now shone with exhaustion and emptiness. 3 months ago, a scandal had engulfed her life. A wealthy family lost their son to a secret opium addiction. Despite Elena's efforts to save him, they still accused her of negligence, and their power was enough to crush the truth. The lies turned her from an angel in white into a devil in white. Her license was revoked, she was shunned by everyone, and she had to flee to the mountains, living in an abandoned hunter's hut, just to save her life and the little pride she had left. Today, the storm had swallowed all the little dry wood. Her empty stomach no longer roared, leaving only a dull pain like a stone tied to her stomach. Elena clenched her blunt axe, stepping out to pick up the remaining dry branches. Every step in the snow was a battle. Her breath billowed in white smoke, her hands were so numb that she could hardly hold the axe. But then, something appeared in her vision. At first, Elena thought she was seeing things. A dark mass in the white, silent as a ghost. She squinted. No, it wasn't a tree. It was bigger, more unusual. And it wasn't completely still. Her heart was pounding, both with fear and with her old medical instincts awakening. Elena trudged forward, knee-deep in snow. As she got closer, she saw more clearly. A man. He was lying face down, half in the snow, his thick leather jacket torn and stained with dark blood. Beside him, a huge chestnut horse, legs as white as socks, shook and drooped its head. The reins were caught in a branch, and the animal was as exhausted as its master. Elena threw down her axe and knelt beside the man. She turned him over, and her heart sank when she saw his face. It was angular, tanned, with a slight stubble on his chin, a true Western cowboy, obviously. But what made her shiver was the wound. Just below the right rib, the blood had congealed into black patches, but it was still seeping through the fabric of her shirt. "Oh my God," Elena whispered. Her trembling hands searched for a pulse, weak, very weak. But there, the man groaned softly, his eyes opening. The steel gray in them flashed with life, then quickly died as his eyelids drooped. Elena's head echoed with two conflicting voices. "Leave it. How can you take care of yourself and carry this burden? You're still a nurse, and nurses don't abandon dying people." Elena bit her lip until it bled. Her ego, even though trampled by society, still wouldn't allow her to turn away. "You won't die here, not in my eyes," she said softly, but firmly. The problem was how to bring him back. The man was tall, muscular, at least twice her weight. The snow was knee-deep, and the wind was whipping. How could Elena, exhausted and hungry, pull it alone? Her eyes flicked to the horse. It was shaking but still alive. Elena staggered to her feet, untangling the reins from the branches and grabbing its mane. "Please, don't fall now," she whispered, her cold hands trembling. Somehow she managed to get the man onto the horse's back, and she walked along. Each step tore her body apart. The blizzard howled, slapping her face with sheets of ice. Her makeshift cabin was nearly a mile away, but the distance seemed endless. Finally, when her feet seemed to give out, the silhouette of the cabin loomed. Elena nearly collapsed, but she still managed to pull herself and the horse inside. The rickety wooden door slammed shut, blocking out some of the sound of the raging wind. In the flickering light of the fire, Elena laid the man on the floor and removed his thick, blood-soaked coat. Her heart sank as she saw the wound. A bullet lodged deep under his ribs. The blood was thick but still oozing. If she didn't treat him now, he would die in a few hours. Elena swallowed. What did she have? A dull kitchen knife, a half-empty bottle of whiskey, a few rags from her petticoat. No needles, no medicine. Only the hands that had saved dozens of lives. Hold on, Elena, she told herself, taking a shaky breath. You've worked in the operating room. You faced death. This is just a man, a patient, and you're his only hope. She pushed his shirt open, exposing his body. Elena wiped the sweat from her forehead, her hands shaking but still as steady as they had been in the operating room. The dull kitchen knife, heated red by the fire, now lay in her hand like a real surgical blade. In front of her, Cole Harrington, the stranger who had just escaped from the white snow outside, was still unconscious, but his muscular body trembled with pain. Blood seeped through the temporary bandage, running in a dark red line across his muscular chest. God bless us both, Elena whispered, then took a deep breath, starting to cut down the skin. The sound of the knife tearing flesh made her shiver. The blood gushed out, hot, unlike the bitter cold of the blizzard outside. Cole jerked slightly, a hoarse moan escaping his chapped lips. Be quiet, I'll save you. Elena pushed the knife deeper, searching for the bullet. Sweat mixed with tears blurred her vision. She remembered every surgery she had ever performed, but never alone, without instruments, without anesthesia. Her hand shook as the knife touched something hard. The bullet. She held her breath, grasping it with a pair of makeshift tweezers, actually just a small sharpened spoon. A sharp pull, the metal snapping out. The bullet rolled to the floor, ringing like a bell signaling life. It's done? Elena whispered, quickly stuffing a cloth soaked in whiskey into the wound, then sewing it back together with a broken needle and thread from an old gown. When the wound was bandaged, she almost collapsed. But Cole's hand suddenly rose, weakly grasping her wrist. His eyes opened, a cold, steely gray, but also mixed with confusion and bewilderment. Who are you? He said hoarsely. Elena leaned closer, stopping the flow of blood. It doesn't matter. Just know that I just saved your life. His eyes were fierce, as if he still didn't believe it. For a moment, Elena felt his hot breath on her face. So close that her heart skipped a beat, so close that she realized, beneath the blood and pain, this was a strong, experienced, and dangerous man. She jerked her hand away from his, stood up, and calmed herself. You need to rest, otherwise all your efforts will be for nothing. Cole closed his eyes, saying nothing more. That night, Elena sat in the old chair, her eyes glued to the man lying on the bed, gasping for breath. The firelight reflected on his face, highlighting his sharp features, high cheekbones, square jaw, firm lips pressed tightly together even in his sleep. A wild, rough, yet alluring beauty. Elena tightened her scarf around her shoulders. For years she had lived alone, her heart as cold as ice. But now, the mere presence of this man made her heart waver. She tried to suppress the thought. He's just a patient. I saved him out of duty, that's all. But deep down, she knew she was lying. The next day, Cole had a high fever. Elena stayed up all night, changing bandages, wiping sweat, forcing him to drink water spoon by spoon. At times he was delirious, his large hand unconsciously grasping hers, holding it tightly as if afraid she would disappear. Don't leave me. Don't, he muttered, his voice hoarse. Elena's heart clenched. She gently stroked his messy hair, whispering, I'm here. I won't go anywhere. In that moment, the entire cold wooden cabin seemed to be warmed. On the third day, Cole finally woke up. His gray eyes were brighter, less cloudy. He tried to sit up, but the wound made him groan. Elena quickly supported him, her hand touching his solid chest. They both froze. The distance was too close. Her heart was pounding and his eyes were fixed on her, both grateful and searching. What's your name? Cole asked, his voice low but strong. Elena, she replied softly. And I'm Cole Harrington. I owe you my life. Elena shook her head. You're not dead because you're strong. I just did what I had to do. Cole's eyes narrowed, sharp as a knife. No, you saving me like this all alone in a storm. I've never met a woman like that. Elena blushed and turned away, avoiding his gaze. But her heart continued to pound. Over the next few days they grew accustomed to each other's presence. Cole was still weak, but every time he smiled, the whole cabin seemed to light up. Elena found herself smiling, something she had long forgotten. At night, as the blizzard howled outside, they sat near the fire, sharing blankets, exchanging memories. Cole told of the vast Harrington Ranch, of the thousands of cattle that stretched across the Texas prairie. He spoke with pride, but there was a shadow in his eyes. The enemy hunting him, and how he had almost died in the woods. Elena told less. She avoided mentioning Kansas, saying only that she had been a nurse. But in Cole's eyes, Elena saw understanding. Without saying anything, he seemed to see through the wound in her heart. One night, as the fire was dying, Cole leaned over, his hand lightly touching the back of her hand. Elena was startled, but did not pull away. The touch was both warm and made her body tremble. "Elena?" Cole whispered, his voice hoarse, as if mixed with the wind. She turned around, meeting gray eyes staring deeply into hers. This time it was no longer a searching gaze, but a longing, something raw and genuine. The wind whistled through the ravine, the snow still falling. The small wooden hut was like a grain of sand in the white sea of ice. Elena had just finished praying when the sound of horse hooves pounded in the distance, strong and fierce, like a death drum. Cole was sitting against the wall, a pistol in his hand, his face pale from blood loss but his eyes shining like steel. He tightened his grip on the barrel of the gun. "They're coming." Elena felt her blood freeze. She ran to the window and peeked out. In the misty snow, 3 figures on horseback gradually appeared, long coats fluttering, rifles slung across their shoulders. Their hoarse laughter echoed, eerie like a funeral trumpet. She turned around and whispered, "3 of them. All of them have guns." Cole growled, "They're the ones who ambushed me. These bastards won't stop until I'm dead." He took a deep breath, his chest aching, but he tried to stay calm. Elena clenched her fists, her heart pounding. She knew that if she stayed, Cole in his condition would be no match for 3 skilled gunmen. If she left him, the bandits would finish him off without mercy. A thought flashed through her mind. Crazy, dangerous, but the only chance. "Elena, listen to me." Cole began, but she cut him off, her voice trembling and fierce. "No, listen to me, Cole. I'll ride out, take them with me. You stay, hold out in the hut. If you're alive, there's hope. If they see you're too weak, they'll kill you." Cole glared. "No, you'll die." Elena stepped closer, her cold hand on his face. Cole's gray eyes flashed with pain as she saw the determination in her eyes. "You taught me what it feels like to live again. Now it's my turn to do it for you." Before he could protest, Elena wrapped herself in her fur coat and took the reins of the chestnut horse. She opened the back door. The snowy wind rushed in like 1,000 knives. "Elena!" Cole's hoarse cry tore through the air, but she had already kicked her heels and galloped away. The sound of hooves pounding on the thick snow. The chestnut horse neighed loudly, its breath puffing out white smoke. Elena tightened her grip on the reins, crouching low to avoid the biting cold wind. "Here! That woman!" The robber's voice behind her rang out, hoarse and savage. The gunshot was deafening. The bullet lodged in the snow right next to the horse's hoof. Elena shuddered but did not look back. She could only spur her horse forward, her heart pounding as if it wanted to tear her chest apart. Snow flew everywhere. The pine tree retreated quickly behind her. Behind her, the sound of hooves grew closer. Screams, the sound of guns tearing through the air. A bullet grazed her ear, sending her hair flying. Elena bit her lip until it bled, her tears mixing with the cold snow. In her mind, she saw Cole. His gray eyes filled with anger and fear as he watched her run. She whispered as if sending a message into the wind, "Cole, live. For you, for me." In the hut, Cole heard the gunshot. His heart felt like someone was squeezing it. He staggered to his feet. The wound split open in pain, blood seeping through the bandages. But he didn't care. He growled like a wounded animal, gun in hand. A dark figure burst through the door, rifle pointed straight at him. Cole didn't have time to think. He pulled the trigger. The gunshot was deafening. The bullet went straight into the man's chest. He fell to the steps, blood staining the snow. Cole gasped, sweat mixed with blood flowing down his face. "You son of a bitch," he cursed hoarsely. But in his heart, the fear was even more terrible. Elena was out there, fighting 2 wild wolves alone. In the snow-covered valley, Elena was exhausted. The chestnut horse panted, staggering. The 2 bandits were still chasing. "Run, you wild cat! See how far you can get!" one of them shouted, his laughter echoing. Elena turned the reins and headed down the narrow slope, hoping to escape his sight. But the snow was too thick. The horse slipped, and both she and the horse rolled down. Elena hit the tree, her head dizzy. Before she could stand up, a rough hand grabbed her hair and yanked her back. The bandit growled, his breath pungent in her face. "Got you, little bird?" Elena struggled, her nails scratching his face. He hissed, slapping her hard. Before the darkness swallowed her, Elena could only think of Cole's gray eyes. Cole knew he couldn't stay still. Every second that passed brought Elena closer to death. He gritted his teeth, wrapped more cloth around the wound, and mounted his horse. Each kick to the horse's belly made the wound ache like it was tearing, but Cole didn't care. He charged into the snow, his heart screaming, "Elena, don't die, I won't let you die." The trail was easy to follow. The fall in the snow, the dripping blood, the chaotic hoofprints. Cole spurred his horse into a mad rush. And then he saw it. Two bandits, one holding the reins of the chestnut horse, the other dragging a tied Elena, blood dripping from the corner of her mouth. Cole's blood boiled. He raised his gun, pulled the trigger. The bullet cut through the air, hitting the bandit holding Elena in the shoulder. He screamed, falling into the snow. The other bandit spun around, his rifle aimed at Cole, but Cole was faster. The second bullet hit him in the chest, throwing him off the saddle. It all happened in a matter of seconds. Elena collapsed in the snow, eyes wide, staring at the shadow foe. The snow had stopped falling last night. The Montana sky was clear, sparkling with rare sunlight after days of storms. But in the white-covered valley, the air still smelled of gunpowder and blood. Cole stood still, breathing heavily, his arms still holding Elena tightly in his arms. His heart was pounding, not from the open wound, but from the fear he had just felt, the fear of losing her. Elena, her lips still wet with blood, looked up at him. Cole's gray eyes were no longer cold steel, but burning fire. He gently lifted her face, his rough hands trembling. "Elena," his voice was hoarse, choked with emotion. "Do you know what I thought when I saw them dragging you away? I thought, if you died, I wouldn't want to live anymore." Elena blinked, tears welling up. "Cole, you're crazy. With that wound, you should have stayed in the cabin. Instead, you risked your life for me." "No." Cole squeezed her shoulder, his voice firm. "I risked my life for myself. Because, without you, I have nothing." Elena's heart trembled. For months, she had known only cold, loneliness, and humiliation. But now, amid the snow and the corpses of the bandits, she felt wanted, needed. For the first time in years, she believed she was worthy of love. She did not answer. Instead, she leaned forward, her lips finding his. The first kiss was not rushed, not clumsy, but like a vow. Their breaths mingled, trembling but exploding like fire and ice. Cole was exhausted from the fight, but his iron will kept him standing. He lifted Elena onto his horse, then climbed after her, his arms wrapped tightly around her waist. "We have to get out of here. They might have accomplices," he whispered in her ear. Elena nodded, leaning back against his chest. She could hear his heartbeat, strong and steady, like a war drum keeping her steady. They crossed white slopes, deep ravines. The wind was still biting, but the warmth of Cole's body enveloped Elena, making her forget the cold. After 2 arduous days, the Texas plains finally opened up before her eyes. Vast and golden in the sunset. The Harrington Ranch appeared, vast and majestic, herds of cattle stretching out like waves. Elena was overwhelmed. This is your place?" Cole smiled slightly, though his lips were pale. "Yes, and now it's my home too." The farm workers cheered when they saw their master return, but were silenced when they saw a strange woman walking beside him. The news spread like wildfire. Cole Harrington had returned from the dead, and he had brought a mysterious woman with him. That night, Cole fell ill with a torn wound. Elena became a nurse again, a job she thought she had lost forever. She tended to his stitches, wiped his forehead with sweat, forced him to drink spoonfuls of herbal medicine. There were nights when Cole was delirious. He called out to her, "Elena, don't leave me," and she squeezed his hand, whispering, "I will never leave you again." However, outside the hospital room, Suspicious eyes still followed. The old manager, Mr. Graveson, pulled Cole aside as he recovered. "Master, who is she? What do we know about her? If she is just a peddler?" Cole interrupted, his eyes blazing. "She is the one who saved my life. If it weren't for Alina, Cole Harrington wouldn't have returned today." Alina heard, her heart sinking. She knew that her shameful past in Kansas would one day be revealed. At that time, would Cole still be able to keep his faith? One afternoon, as the sunset dyed the fields golden, Alina stood alone by the fence, her eyes staring into the distance. Cole approached, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. "Why have you been avoiding me these past few days?" he whispered. Alina bit her lip. She couldn't hide forever. "Cole, you deserve a clean woman." "I don't." He turned her around, forcing her to look straight into his eyes. "What are you talking about?" She trembled as she recounted everything. The scandal in Kansas, the false accusations, the contemptuous looks of her colleagues, the humiliation that forced her to flee. Each sentence felt like a knife cutting her, causing her tears to fall. When she finished, silence fell. Alina trembled, waiting for the contemptuous look, but Cole just gently reached out to wipe the tears from her cheeks. "Alina, do you think that past made me leave you? No, it made me appreciate you more. You fell, but you still stood up. You still saved my life, even though you had nothing left. To me, that is the greatest strength." Alina burst into tears, hugging him tightly. This time, the tears were no longer humiliation, but liberation. That hug opened a new chapter. In the following days, Cole recovered quickly. He took Alina around the farm, introducing each corner and each worker. Although they were wary at first, when they saw Alina's dedication to healing the animals and helping the women on the farm, her smile gradually won them over. One night, the sky was full of stars. The wind was cool. Cole led Alina out into the empty fields. The horses neighed, the herd of cattle in the distance moved like a sea. "Alina?" Cole turned back, his gray eyes sparkling under the moonlight. "From the day you pulled me out of the snow, I knew I had a reason to live. You were that reason." He took her hand and placed it on his chest. "My heart, it beats only for you. I don't want you to be just my savior. I want you to be my life partner, by my side, forever." Alina was stunned. The wind blew her hair, tears rolled down, but her lips smiled. "Cole, I thought my life was over. But you made me believe that I was worthy of love. If you were sincere, then yes, I would be yours." Cole didn't wait any longer. He pulled her close, kissing her deeply. That kiss was like a storm that tore through all her defenses, burning away the dark corners she had hidden away. Alina trembled in his arms, but then she held him tightly, responding with all the pent-up desire. Their lips mingled, sweet and fierce, as if wanting to swallow each other's breath. Cole's arms slid down her back, holding her tight as if afraid she would disappear. His heart pounding against her chest, the rhythm merging into one. Alina felt every hot breath on her skin, every shiver running through her veins. They were no longer two strangers drawn together by fate. Now they were two souls who had just found each other after a storm, bound by pain and salvation. Alina leaned her head on Cole's shoulder, his lips finding her neck again, leaving hot streaks on her smooth white skin. She gasped, her small hands clutching his shoulders, trembling but not resisting. "Cole," she called softly, her voice hoarse like the night wind. "I'm here," he whispered, his voice low and trembling. "I will never leave you alone again." They wrapped around each other, no longer distinguishing between the cold snow outside or the darkness of the past. Only one thing remained. Love was exploding, intense, sweeping away all fear and loneliness. The next morning, the Harrington farm was bustling. The news spread. Owner Cole Harrington announced Alina Graves as his fiancée. Many were surprised, some objected, but when they saw Cole's fierce eyes, no one dared to doubt. Alina stood by the window, looking out at the golden fields. She remembered the days in the cold hut when she thought she was just waiting to die. Everything had changed. Now she had a roof over her head, a man willing to die for her, and a love strong enough to erase the past. Cole walked in, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "Are you ready, Alina Harrington?" She smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. Ready. With you, I'm ready for anything. Outside, the sunset dyed the sky red. The cattle bellowed, the wind sang a song of freedom. In Cole's arms, Elena knew. Her life had turned a new page. No longer the abandoned nurse, no longer the wandering woman. Now she was a woman loved, cherished. And in the vast farm, in the bright afternoon light, two people who had lost everything now found each other. And found each other forever. True love can erase the painful past and light up your life. Whether you have stumbled or been abandoned, you still deserve a new beginning with someone who truly loves you. Courage and faith are the keys to help two people who seem to be strangers become everything to each other. If you were Cole, would you have enough faith to accept a woman with a cruel past like Elena? If you were Elena, would you dare to risk your life for a stranger just because your heart tells you to? In your opinion, what keeps a love lasting longer? Promises or sacrifices? Have you ever felt that love is the medicine that heals all pain?